Good afternoon. Thank you, Halden. Let's get rid of that picture pretty quick. And thank you, Gavin Perkins and Tony, who've already mentioned Good Sam this morning. And as a result of that, there were a few questions. So a few people didn't know what Good Sam was. So I'm just going to spend one of my 8 minutes just briefly telling you about it. It's a platform that alerts people to cardiac arrests, trained doctors, nurses, paramedics, firemen, policemen who can go and provide immediate life-saving CPR and AED use whilst the ambulance services are en route. And we launched it in 2014 at SMAC Gold. And thanks to the SMAC community, it really has expanded a lot since then. It's got a lot more that I won't have time to go through, but there's a radio function in it. It's mapped the world's largest AED register. There's now over 80,000 AEDs on the system as well, all thanks to the community that's built around it. And although you can't read the numbers on here, it really has grown. It's all across New Zealand, Ambulance Victoria, using it with other states in Australia coming online as well. Most of the UK is on. India, a place like in Brazil where there isn't an ambulance service, are also using it. And there are many survivors as a result now. These are just a few of them. There are literally, we're hearing about them all the time. And I just want to tap my hat and say thank you ever so much to you guys, the SMAC community, for really making this a thing. And if you aren't on it, please do go to goodsamapp.org or download it on the Apple Store or Android. But that's not what my talk's about. I'm going to talk about something else, if that's okay, which is the next stage of Good Sam, but I want you to kind of forget about the app side of it. All you guys here know that you're all awesome because SMAC keeps telling you you're awesome. And that's because you jump out of helicopters and you thoracotomies and intubate people. But that's not really what makes, I think, you guys awesome. What makes us awesome is our decision-making. And certainly in my pre-hospital experience, the decision-making is far more important than the actual interventions. You think, well, I've heard this said before. And what you're probably thinking is what Albus Dumbledore said to Harry Potter, which is it's your choices that show you who you truly are, rather than our abilities. And there's one place that is really true. And I think that's in dispatch, where the choices and the decisions that are made are truly, really important, defining what kind of resource is dispatched to the specific emergency. And dispatch is mostly an algorithmic-based system at the moment. So you're asking questions such as consciousness and breathing, and from that, determinants come out that determine the level of response. There's lots of interest in artificial intelligence, and maybe there is a role for it, but I'm going to put it to you that your brains, our own intelligence, is way, way, way beyond artificial intelligence. And I'm going to hopefully show you that in the next few minutes. Your eyes and your ears are just can absorb so much information in one go and then make a better determinant than any artificial system can do. Imagine if you can be on scene immediately, and that's what we've now done with the GoodSap platform. The ability to open up anyone's mobile phone camera with no apps, no Skype, no FaceTime, none of that. You just can open up anyone's mobile phone remotely within seconds and see what they can see. And I think this is really important because what it means is you can do two elements of triage that we don't normally get to do. One is triage the scene, as in like the mechanism of injury, how far have they fallen, how big's the fire, how many cars are involved, and triage the patient, how sick they look. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes just explaining that a little bit more. So this is what I'm trying to get to is we should be using our own real intelligence, using tools that are available now, rather than waiting for some kind of artificial intelligence. So just talking about mechanisms, obviously, we're used to doing this. When we turn up in resus, we often bring out a picture and say, this is the accident. And from that, you're trying to convey to the trauma team leader the mechanism of injury. So, you know, this person's liable to have leg injuries, probably a pelvis injury. And we just automatically do this. But imagine if you could do that before the crew are even dispatched. You can actually start to plan what you're going to do when you get there. How many cars are involved? Can you go to the front car, go to the middle car? You can start to make more decisions en route. If someone's called 999 or 000 or 911 and they say, oh, my husband's fallen down the stairs, the fact you instantly can see that he's landed on a marble floor, you know that he's far more likely to have head injury. You know he's older, he might be on warfarin and other things as well. There's a whole load of other things that you can interpret from this. Imagine if they're moving a little bit, or if they're speaking, or if their eyes are open. You can begin to get a bit of a GCS. These are all static pictures. But equally, you can not only just sort of look at the scene, but also look at what's around the scene safety. You can advise the caller not to tread on things, not to do things, or to do things maybe, to even care for the patient whilst you're dispatching the appropriate resources. And then you can look at the patient themselves. And I apologize now, because many of you have probably seen this little bit of video before, but it's created by Simon Carley, and I think it's still the most profound bit of video that shows you that your eyes are so important in all this. Imagine you've dialed 911, 000, and you've got this patient with you, and you're going to be asked certain questions, such as, is he conscious? Is he breathing? And you go, yeah, he's conscious, yeah, he's breathing. This guy's getting steadily more sick over 1 minute, okay? So he's conscious, yeah, he's breathing. So that makes him not particularly urgent, green 2, 90 minutes to get to him, that's fine. But there's a point in this video where even if you've got very little training, where most people become uncomfortable. And it's usually when he starts to get a little bit sweaty, a little bit grey. So is he breathing? Yeah, he's breathing. Is he conscious? Yeah, he's conscious. Still green 2, not particularly urgent. But you all know this guy is sick, really sick. And that's what your eyes do. And you're doing 100 things in one go. You're looking at skin color, you're looking at tachypnea, so you're looking at sweating. There's so much that you look at that you instantly make a decision on, which an algorithmic process just can't do quick enough. You don't even need to go eventually. And there's another story, but I haven't got time to tell you about that. But this is a person who's been driven to the shops and she starts saying she's got numbness on the side of her face. You can actually look at her and go, oh, you actually got a bit of facial asymmetry there, haven't you? You can actually do a bit of a neurological exam. You can say, can you lift up your arm? Lift up your left arm for us. And she goes, well, can't really, it's really heavy and can't touch my nose. You can actually get so much information very quickly. And then you can actually say, well, you need to get to hospital. If someone's driving you, just come straight to hospital. And so they can get care much quicker. Not you don't drive yourself if you're having a stroke, right? I'm not advocating that. I'm not advocating going on blues. Right, and then there's everything else as well. I've only been getting many things, but there's mental health. If you can see a patient who's suicidal, for example, or depressed, and you can see what surroundings they're like, what their house is like, whether it's a disheveled house, whether they're on a bridge, and then looking at their motion, whether they're talking to you, their eye contact, all those kind of things, tells you so much about that patient's mental state that will take you a whole series of questions to ask. Your vision and what you can see is really important. And there's one other thing that we can do with this. Once you've got a video stream, you can do stuff with the video stream that's truly mind-blowing. So what we can do now is we can take that video stream and plug it through a clever little thing we've developed, which can measure pulse directly from the face, basically. And I'm going to do a little demonstration of that now. Matt, is it okay to switch over to the interweb? There we go. That's Carol's phone number there, if anyone wants to take it down. But we're going to test Carol now. So Carol's with a patient, and he's going to get a text. So Carol, I don't know where you are, but if you get a text, can you click on the link in that text? It's going to ask if it's okay to share your location data and share your video data. Now, I have to say that if everyone's on Wi-Fi here, it's probably not going to work, because it's all going to be a bit too bandwidth out, I suspect. Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, you've got a patient with you. That's brilliant. Okay, so it's found face. Just move the camera slightly, Carol, if you're on the phone. There we go. So you can see the pulse is reading in the bottom right corner there. It's a little bit slow because of bandwidth. That top number here is it's stopped now, is the percentage accuracy, and that number there will come up. Normally it's a little bit quicker, but as I say, the internet here is not particularly great. But you can actually get multiple people's pulses in one go through this, and it's very accurate to within 5 beats per minute, over 90% of the time. So it's you can actually get hard, objective evidence to support your decisions with this as well. You might want to just take his pulse to confirm that it is really 50, but I'm sure it will be something like that. Okay, can I go back to the other ones? So we're using this technology now on Kent Surrey Sussex Air Ambulance and GNAS. It was on Channel 4 in the UK last night. And it really is making a difference in terms of, especially when those difficult decisions where you're not quite sure what resources to send, and I can give lots of examples. But you can make a decision either both to upgrade and downgrade your response. And you can even deliver care before you get there. And this is a horrible bit of video, and I apologize for this. But this guy's going to get assaulted, and it's in the public domain, released by the Met Police, which is why I'm showing it. This guy gets assaulted. It's horrible. He actually dies of a hypoxic brain injury. But the point I'm going to draw your attention to here is that if we could open people's cameras, or people would take video, sick people at YouTube and all that kind of stuff. But actually, when people do dial 998, if you can open their cameras, and you can then start to guide people through holding an airway open and doing basic life support decisions there, we can do our care before we even get there by working through other people. So I just wanted to end by saying, because this could be the last Smack Force, thank you ever so much for helping propagate the Good Sam community around the world, but also thanks ever so much for letting me be a part of this. Thank you very much.
Hello, Mark. Stand here by me. Again, I'm Craig from Smack Force News.
Hi,
So
Craig.
just a couple of questions, and we're going to do a quick succession questions here. Firstly, I think there's a couple of kangaroos in the audience that says that your app works really well in Australia, and specifically somewhere in a lonely island.
Kangaroo Island.
Yeah.
Kangaroo Island's a fantastic good sound community, thanks to Tim Lewinberg, who's been brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, great. Then I think the first question coming from the audience is, would video calls to dispatch also mean greater incidence of psychological trauma to call takers because they're seeing it?
Yeah, that's a really important point. So I think that there's lots of ways you could sort of use this technology, but the algorithmic way of assessing dispatch is not going to go away. That's still an extremely good way. But there's a point where it comes to decision making, where you've got experienced clinicians in a clinical hub who it's useful for them to be able to make the call as to what you're going to do next. And I think that's where it comes useful. But yes, absolutely, like you would have to look after people psychologically who arrive on scene, who could be disturbed by whatever they've seen. Similarly, you have to look after call handlers. But that happens now, even on the audio. People are very disturbed when they've got something utterly awful on the end of the phone, and that's part of what we do, isn't it?
Okay. And then our final question is around security. The EU, not Britain, has got this thing called GDPR now.
Yeah, so it's all GDPR compliant.
And America, I think it's HIPAA.
Yeah, HIPAA compliant. HIPAA. So it's HIPAA and GDPR compliant. All those sorts of things. And there's lots of, you can talk about this all night, but just very briefly, data storage is in country. The video is not stored on anyone's mobile phone. It can be stored in the cloud. It can be stored locally. There's a little API that can go and grab the bit of video and put it locally on your own server. There's lots of options to make sure that it fulfills all those kind of criteria quite well.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.